Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast, the podcast where you find new friends and new music. And you might recognize this week's guest from season 14 of The Voice. JessLee, thanks for jumping on with me.
Hi, of course. I'm really excited. This is going to be a fun one, I can tell.
I think so. And guys, before we jump too far into it, make sure to hit that follow or subscribe button so that you see the next time that we put out a podcast. But JessLee, let's start with you. Let's start with the the Wikipedia version. Where did you come from? How did you get into music?
It's a funny thing. As cliche as it sounds, music really is truly in my blood. I have a great grandfather who was a professional classical touring violinist. I had my grandparents who used to tour around the country, and they ended up actually meeting each other through music, and then they started pursuing music together and touring together. And at one point they were going to be like the original Sonny and Cher. They had a big contract, and they ended up backing out of it later on. But yeah, I mean, it's my sisters, they went to college for music. One just graduated from Berkeley in Boston. Another one came from Marymount, Manhattan in New York. So she does musical theater. So it's definitely something that's always been just inside my family and my blood and my roots. And quite honestly, it was something that I pushed off doing for a really, really long time. And I started it a little bit later in life, just out of just like a self-confidence issue, which is one of the reasons I'm so adamant and so big about pushing people and being who they are and believing in themselves today. Because, it's hard in a world of social media today where everything is a highlight reel and everybody looks like they're so successful, and it's so easy to mask what's really going on behind the scenes. But, I always, out of just a lack of confidence for myself and a lack of, I think, love for myself, just pushed off doing music. And then one day, just a couple things led to another, and I had gotten the opportunity to produce my first original content and release it. And the release went really well. And at that point, I was like, I think I need to do this. And I kind of was juggling jobs at a time. I was in banking, and I actually was working at Publix, and I was trying to play around town and make both things happen. And, and then eventually The Voice came along, and I was able to, because of that opportunity, go full-time music and start touring and really actively, playing out around the United States and not just in Florida anymore, which Florida is originally where I'm from. So it's been quite a journey these past about 5 years now. So it's been fun, and I've been really, really loving it.
Well, and you have to pronounce for me your hometown, because I have been trying for the last week, and I feel like I still can't get it.
No, most people can't. That's so funny. So it was actually kind of a joke on The Voice. When I was doing my blind audition, they were like, "And where the hell are you from?" Because they couldn't read it either. And I was like, "Well, in town we call it Lots of Scratchy because of all the chiggers and the no-see-ums." But it's not. It's actually pronounced Loxahatchee. So yeah, Loxahatchee, Florida is originally where I was from, and then I later on moved to Stuart, Florida, which is a tiny little town too. But Loxahatchee was where I really got introduced and was raised on country music and a little bit of rock, and obviously like what was modern at the time, like, Pink and some pop music coming in. But really country music was what I listened to growing up. That's what was in my house playing most of the time.
Well, and coming from such a musical family, did you feel like eventually you would have to kind of at least give music a try? I know it took you a little later than maybe you would have liked, but did it feel like something that you just felt like you had to at least give a shot to?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, fear is a funny thing. I was actually talking about this with some people, how, it's a motivator in two ways. It motivates you to either go do something else because you take fear and you want to run away from it, or it motivates you to, jump into it and just go full on and full speed ahead. And for me, it took a little bit of time. The big moment, and I tell this story to some people and it sounds so funny, but the big moment where I realized like I wanted to do music full time and was truthfully when I was at a theme park. They had the American Idol experience going on at the time, and one day my sister, she had just started college, and we went. She was in town, and we decided that we were going to go to the theme park because coming from Florida, you know, like going and taking a day in Orlando is so worth the 3 or 4 hour drive, you know. So we woke up really early and planned a whole day out to the theme park, and we ended up going to MGM Studios, which is a Disney park, and they had the American Idol experience there, and my sister and I, on a whim, decided to go do it. And long story short, it ended up taking up the whole day. We didn't even end up riding one single ride because we literally, we had no idea it was going to be like that. Whoever knew, they give you a makeup artist and a vocal coach, and every time you go to a new round, it's literally like a 1 day version of the entire show. So you have like people doing your makeup, and you do this before the scenes filming stuff, and it's so funny because it's just like a little snippet of exactly what you get when you do real national television shows like that. So we ended up going, and my sister got knocked out in the first round, and then I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and all day ended up being her having to get in line to go watch me sing in front of like 2,000 people because they'd fill out this room, and they'd have it on a timer when the next show would be. So she'd have to go drop me off, and then she'd get in line, and she'd just go watch me sing the competition, and then I ended up winning the whole thing, and it was an exact simulation of what happens on the real television show with the confetti and the fireworks and all those.
That's awesome.
So it felt so real, and I just started crying, and out loud on the mic, I'm like, "Thank you so much, everybody, for believing in me," because they had to vote for you, the crowd.
Okay.
So so it was hilarious because like in that moment, it felt like I was on the real show, and I just started bawling my eyes out, and then I realized how much I loved singing, and I loved performing, and how much I loved being in front of people. And I walked out, and I had this huge line of people. They pulled me aside, and they have you do like autographs and stuff, which is so funny. So, because I was literally I was like zero, like a nobody. So yeah, it was really, really funny, and it was a good day. And it just made me like kind of have that yearning again. Like it was like, gosh, I loved that. I really, really loved that, and I want to do more of that, you know? So.
Well, and then so you went from that, and when they line you up, you know, at the theme park, is it the same way that they do it on the real American Idol, where they have you kind of, you know, wait and go through a line and audition for people, or was it something a little bit different?
Yeah, you do. It's a first come first serve thing, and they have a quota of how many people they pick, and you could be literally waiting there like, you know, I mean, I think they have like, you have to be there by a certain time in the morning, and then it's like the first, I think like 3 hours of the day is like the first set of people that they picked out, but it's literally like an all day thing. Like they have one winner per day type of a thing. So it's literally the exact same process, just in a much smaller, like it's a snippet of it. It's a snippet of time basically. So it's funny. It was a very funny experience.
Well, and you got that, you know, American Idol experience, and then, of course, you ended up on The Voice. How much different is that process? Because I don't think people realize that The Voice doesn't audition people in quite the same way that American Idol does.
You know, they do and they don't. So I'm actually not telling this by experience, because my personal audition process was very, very different. But they do a casting call. It is very much like the TV show, like American Idol. They just don't show all of that initial stuff. There's a lot of rounds, and I don't think I can actually say how many rounds there are until they actually show it on television.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, but the actual like process is really similar to American Idol. They just don't have all of that stuff shown. So even what you see on American Idol, there's a much larger, much more detailed and extensive process that they go through that is not shown on TV. So they really hide a lot of that for The Voice, and they start you obviously right off at the blind auditions. They make it look like that's exactly where people are starting. They like to make it look like you literally were like, oh, I'm going to go try out for The Voice today and sing in front of Blake Shelton. And that's not what it's like at all. That's not what it's like. It's a long, extensive process. I mean, long. So, and for the people who go and start from the very beginning, which it's funny because it's really, really long. Like it's about like half of a year's time.
Wow.
Until from when their first audition was ever, if they start from the casting call, like until the TV show, until their actual blind audition airs. I mean, it is a waiting game. It's crazy. So, my personal audition was very, very different from that experience. I actually had zero idea I was going to be doing the show that year. It was about, I think, 7 or 8 months after I had released a music video called Burn. And the video went pretty viral because at the time I had very much of a smaller following than I do now. And for the following that I had in comparison, my music video really did go viral, went pretty crazy, and it's getting passed around everywhere. And the show actually found the video, and I don't know who the initial person was, but the show found the video, and it had them reach out to me. So they actually invited me onto the show. I didn't try out at all.
So then after you got invited on, everybody saw the audition, but what was that process for you like? Not necessarily, with the show itself, but just the process of trying to figure out what song you were going to sing and how you were going to perform it.
Yeah. So usually you pick out like a handful of songs, and ultimately the show is the decider of what you end up singing. You pick a handful of things you'd like to sing, but your final song is decided by them. But it was cool because I'm With You was a song that I sang for the show, for the blind audition, and I didn't think I was going to be singing that, to be honest. I had it on there because I had this like really extensive plan that I wanted to follow through with, and I knew ultimately it wasn't going to be my decision, but I had hopes to sing that song, and I had an arrangement that I had that was a country version. So my thing is kind of like I am a country artist, and that's my roots, but I really love to bring in like elements of rock and pop, so just like a country rock pop fusion kind of thing. So when I initially was starting, I was really hoping that was going to be the song I could do, and I could tell them the arrangement that I wanted to do to really, really make it my own. And then I had 3 other songs that were in the running, which I can't remember the 4th one, but I think the other one was like My Church from Maren Morris, which is also very much up my alley. And then I think the other one was, I actually really cannot remember for some reason what was on the table at the time. But I know My Church was one of them because they had me sing both when they were deciding it. I ended up being I'm With You and My Church that I sang for them to decide what song I was going to do while I was getting coached and stuff. So it's cool because, you end up getting the song, they ended up deciding it, and then you go through and you have a good period of time where before the actual blind auditions happen, you're in LA and you're training with your vocal coach and you're deciding the arrangement of the song, and you actually have to do like a dress rehearsal. So you go out and you go on the stage and you experience the stage before you go out there. I mean, like I said, they like to make it look like it's the very first time you've ever walked on, but it's not. Like you go through and you really get to, experience all that. And it was cool. I mean, the first time I walked out there, it's a beautiful stage. It's a really, really, really cool experience because, the light show is stunning and you're playing with honestly one of the best bands in the country. So it was awesome. I mean, it was one of those things. I never had a vocal coach either. So it was just, for me, it was a whole new experience because at the time, even though I had started playing shows and doing stuff like that, I personally had never experienced playing a stage like that yet. So So it was a big eye opener for me, and just more of a reason for me to want to keep continuing music, because once you taste gold once, you want it again later on. So
Oh, absolutely. And then, you went out there, you crushed it, you got the judges to turn around, and then you picked Blake. And I think a lot of people think that you picked Blake just because he's the country guy, but there was definitely more behind that decision, wasn't it?
yeah, there really was. When all I had thought about, honestly, initially was I really just wanted Blake Shelton at first, and for some reason I was so focused on him that I didn't even think about like what would happen if another coach had turned. And when I had the opportunity of Kelly turning as well, and the choice to also possibly choose her, it really, like, in that moment, I truthfully felt stumped, because going into it, I just for some reason did have my hopes set on Blake, and it really truthfully was for the reason that out of everybody, he's obviously the most qualified and experienced in country music. And then when Kelly turned as well, it all kind of hit me that, because she was telling me things about, like the CMTs and the people she's worked with. And obviously it all kind of hit me later on. I'm like, oh yeah, like she's really done a lot in country music that I didn't even think about, So I had a split second where I was actually about to change my mind. And then Blake ended up bringing up a comment, which he was like, he kind of basically talked about my style and vocalized that he really understands like who I was and what I wanted, which is, I'm very much of like I said, like a country rock pop fusion. And he was like, you have this edginess about you that, I haven't seen in a long time in country music for women. You have a lot of, like this feminine but edgy badassness about you that he kind of spoke about. And then that comment was truthfully really like what was like, okay, like I need to go with my original thought. I need to go with my gut, because he knows what I want to be, and he knows the artist I am. He can see right now that I know who I am, which is important to me, because like that's a really big development process that a lot of artists on there don't have, because some people on the show, that performance, like the actual blind audition, is some people's very first ever moment of like singing in front of an audience. So, which is mind blowing to me. So like, it's just crazy. And, I love the fact that he basically just like knew who I was, and knew that I knew who I was, and was willing to be a champion for that,
Well, and he compared you to Cassidy Pope, which oddly enough, you guys both sang Avril Lavigne, in your audition. But was that something that you had thought about going in there, just how similar your guys' style was?
No, it's, I didn't even know that she sang that song, which is so funny. She actually ended up singing I'm With You, and I had no idea that she sang it, which was crazy. And then when he said that later on, I ended up doing some research, and then he brought up like actually how she sang that song, I think a few rounds in the show. And it's funny, because I think I'm a little more pop than she is, but it really did hit me in that moment. I was like, oh yeah, like I am kind of a little bit like Cassidy in some ways. And I was happy that he recognized that, because in the moment too, obviously, like she had won the whole show. So I was like, well, he coached her, and
that's not a bad person to be compared with.
Exactly. He's insisting that we're a lot alike, and if he got her to win, then maybe he can do the same thing for me. So it's kind of, that's kind of where my mindset was going with it. So he definitely, he swayed me back over, and I really did. I had a moment where I was like, oh, Kelly seems really like a really good choice now, and he got me back.
So then, after The Voice, obviously you didn't make it all the way to the end. But now you've got your own style, your own sound, your own following, and you just dropped a new single. Was that back in July?
I did. Yeah, I dropped it July 12th, and it's called Over Him, and it's kind of my unveiling of like my branding enhanced. So like I kept a lot of who I am, but working with Brad, which is definitely the most like skilled and just best producer personally that I've worked with yet. We really honed in on what I wanted to do to be able to keep elements of who I am, but also really kind of put my stuff into a little bit more of like a pretty commercial package, if that makes sense. So a lot of my stuff was a little more cerebral, a little more like kind of like obscure, like it wasn't really quote unquote radio ready yet, to where like we're really starting to focus now, like with my team out in Nashville, on putting out stuff that is still really, really very much me and different, but also very commercial. And it was cool because when I started, like when my team started sending out stuff for like PR, I ended up getting this little tag from one PR place that ended up like going to, everybody started talking about it the same way. And it started being like a little bit of chatter about who I am and my style and my new branding out here in Nashville. And they've been kind of one-lining me as like a modern day Shania with like young Christina Aguilera vocals. And I loved that because they're obviously both queens of their genre. And for me, I thought that was really cool because I really do have a pop vocal. I have a super unique range. And I show a little bit of that in the song, especially in the end where I'm doing these kind of like little whistly tone sounds and stuff around my, like answer backs on the song. And, it was a cool way for me to kind of show what I can do and also make my songs and show that I'm also kind of becoming a little bit more of like a commercial entity as well.
Well, and you say, commercial success, you got like 100,000 streams in the first month. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks. It's been really, it's really cool. It's again, like, I think it was a thumbs up showing that I am going in the right direction with where I want, because I was really, really hoping, like, because it was such a different polished sound, I was keeping my fingers crossed that like my people that were already with me were going to really embrace that, and be proud of that, because obviously like the crowd that you already have and the following that you already have gets used to kind of hearing what you've already been releasing. And sometimes if it sounds too different or too drastic or whatever, you can get some people that kind of fall off the train, and it's been really, really, just overwhelming in the best way, honestly, because everybody that had supported me from the beginning was so excited and loved the new enhanced sound. And I've also really had the opportunity to make some new fans, and it's really been a blessing. Like Brad really just honed in on the package that I wanted to be. And, we'd had a long time. We actually took 2 months on the single alone just to really like take our time with it and make sure we had every type of player that we wanted on it, and to make sure that it was following exactly, what we wanted, to just make sure it still had that meanness in it, but also it was kind of going more towards the guidelines of what's on radio today,
And I think that it's a very just relatable song. It's catchy, and we've all had that friend. You're welcome. We've all had that friend that the guy or girl that just wouldn't let go of somebody that was bad for them. So I really do think it's a song that a lot of people can relate to. Is there a story behind that song specifically without getting you in trouble?
No, nothing specific. Just the fact, kind of what you said. Like I think it's everybody's story, and that's kind of the thing. Like, I want to be the person that when I'm putting out music, even if it's commercial, it still means something. I want to put out something that, even if it touches one person, like I feel like I did my job at that point. And when that song is a song that I just truthfully felt in my bones. I was like, this is going to be a song that really touches a lot of people. And that was like the biggest reason why I wanted it to be my next release. And I wanted it to be my first song that I took to Brad, because we just, we had a good handful of stuff that, we played for him, and we just, after deciding everything, we loved all the stuff that's coming on the EP, but we just felt like this one would be a really great, relatable song and just really be able to fit the vibe perfectly and kind of be the song that would introduce who I'm becoming, you know, as well.
Definitely. And let's let everybody take a listen to it, and then I want to talk to you about the music video that just came out. Sound good?
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Let's do it.
When the phone rings, you send it to voicemail. You don't wanna listen to every little detail about how he's sorry and he's lonely. He'll be saying that you're still his one and only. And when he texts you, girl, don't read it. Yeah, you might want what he's got, but you don't need it. But when you see his headlights pulling into your drive, yeah, I know it's hard to fight, but you ain't getting over him until you're done with him. No, you ain't moving on if you're loving him. You ain't missing him if you're kissing him. There ain't no way to make your heart let go of him if you're holding him. If anyone can tell you I'm the one that can, 'cause girl, you know I've been there too. If he's laying in your bed, then you ain't getting over him. I know it's no fun sleeping solo. I've been the one wide awake scrolling through the photos. I bet you're looking at his name and he's just a click away. But all I'm gonna say is you ain't getting over him until you're done with him. No, you ain't moving on if you're loving him. You ain't missing him if you're kissing him. There ain't no way to make your heart let go of him if you're holding him. If anyone can tell you I'm the one that can, 'cause girl, you know I've been there too. If he's laying in your bed, then you ain't getting over him. No, you ain't getting over him. Ooh, you ain't doing yourself any favors. Ooh, it's gonna hurt now or it's gonna hurt later. You ain't getting over him till you're done with him. No, you ain't moving on if you're loving him. You ain't missing him if you're kissing him. Ain't no way to make your heart let go of him if you're holding him. If anyone can tell you I'm the one that can, 'cause girl, you know I've been there too. If he's laying in your bed, then you ain't getting over him. No, 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 you ain't getting over him. If he's laying in your bed, then you ain't getting over him.
And that one right there is Over Him by JessLee. And you just dropped a music video for that song. And we talked about it, you know, being a relatable song, and watching the music video. I think everybody has been in that position where they, you know, they're with somebody and they won't let the other person go. And then, you know, at the end, you finally get to box it all up.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's true, because in the music video too, it's hard because, you know, everybody has a different reaction being the outsider looking into someone else's crappy relationship. And it's funny because you want to be supportive, like as a friend, it's always that fine line. You want to be supportive, but you don't want to be pushy either, because you realize that people have to learn for themselves, you know, and that's really, you don't really take home the lesson and learn from it until you decide for yourself, you know. And so when I was filming the video, it was always this fine line of me wanting to make sure that I didn't look like I was being overbearing. Like, it was kind of just me making a lot of faces, like, what are you doing, girl, type of a thing,
Well,
you know, not like.
I think your facial expressions are the best part of that music video.
Thanks. It was a lot of takes because I'm really not an actress, and my sister actually is, like I said. So the person that's playing the roommate is actually my sister, and she graduated from Marymount Manhattan in New York, and she's killer. I mean, she does shows all over New York, and she travels and tours for musical theater, and she's just incredible. So when I asked her to come out and play it, I was so excited because I knew she'd nail it. But I felt intimidated because she's so good, like, and I'm not. So, like, Chaz, the team, More Than Local, that filmed it, they really did get some amazing shots of me being able to nail some of the faces that I wanted. And Kat was really awesome at kind of talking me through what I should do and kind of the expressions I should be letting off. And I'm proud of it. It ended up coming up being really good. I watched it and I didn't feel like I was disgusted with myself. So
that's always a good thing. And you look like you were having a blast filming those cutaway scenes. You know, when you're just rocking out, that looked like you were having a good time.
That's my element. You know, at that point, I just pretend like I'm playing a live show. And that's definitely my element. When I can be, you know, with my guitar or with a mic in front of me or singing something, that's really, really home for me. But being in front of a camera trying to talk or make facial expressions, that was definitely a new thing. But I'd do it again. Actually, I mean, it was really all fun. You know, it was really a good time. I just wanted to make sure that I was going to be a good fit for it. So I almost actually didn't play that. I was going to have another person play that, but I'm glad I did in the end, looking back.
Yeah, I think it turned out fantastic. And if people are trying to find it, where can they find it? Just on your YouTube channel?
Yes. So if you go to, there's a couple ways. Honestly, I'm very Googleable. I made that word up
there
for
you
myself.
Go. I like it.
Because it was an exciting thing for me when I could Google JessLee and like the whole page was me. So I'm very excited about that. So, but all you have to do is one way that you could find it, as long as you search my name. If you just search JessLee, all one word, and that's the biggest thing because there is another JessLee, and it's a 2 words name. Her first name is Jess, and her last name is Lee, but she's Asian. And you probably will not understand a single thing that she sings because she does sing in Mandarin. So if you get her, it's not me. I did not learn a second language overnight. So, but yeah, no. As long as you search JessLee, one word, JessLee, all my videos will pop up. I think it's one of the first ones to pop up. Or you can go straight to YouTube and also search the same thing. You can search JessLee Official. That's actually the name of my channel. Or you can go to youtube.com/JessLee Music, and all my stuff will pop up there too. So there's lots of ways to get there, but I think it's the very first video right now on the list. So once you get to the channel, definitely subscribe, and if you like the video, hit that thumbs up button and share it.
There you go. It's definitely easy to find. I think I found it 3 different ways, you know, in the last week. But let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about kind of what it looks like for you when you're sitting down trying to write something like Over Him. You know, what does your songwriting process look like? Do you start with a melody, or do you start with the lyrics or a title, or are you the kind of person that, you know, writes in the car?
Yeah, no, you know, I feel like this question it's such a loaded question because I feel like I am the worst person to answer it because I really have no process. Like, I know tons of people who have a process and they follow it and like that's their thing. It's always very different for me, especially since I officially moved out to Nashville, and I've been writing with a lot of hit writers out here, and I've been seeing everybody's process. And when you do co-write, you almost don't want to like intrude on what other people's process is. So I've kind of, the term that I've come to the conclusion with that I've kind of become the chameleon writer, which it just kind of means like whatever situation I'm in, I try to do my best to just blend in with whatever that environment is. If I'm self-writing, I usually start with a hook. If it's something that I feel is really hooky and great, I build around that. And that's kind of really the only strategic process I follow. But other than that, it's so different. I mean, I believe too, I'm a Scorpio. So Scorpio is a water sign, and it's very weird. I get so much of my inspiration when I'm in like the shower or in a pool or at the beach. Like if I'm near water, I'm very inspired.
So that was my next question. Are you the kind of person that has like a waterproof notepad in the shower?
Yeah, right. No, actually, I swear to you, I will stop the shower. I will throw a towel on. I will run to my phone and record that hook as quick as possible. Then I'll finish my shower. Like
there you go.
Like that's what it is. Or if I'm in the pool, same process. If I'm floating and I'm just hanging or at the beach or whatever and I get inspired, I will literally just run up and like record it so I don't forget it and then get on my way. And then I've had times where like I can't get something out of my head. Like if I'm like it's really hooky and catchy, I'll start like adding to it and then I'm like, oh my God, that's good. I can't forget it. So I'll go back and do the same thing again. And then so yeah, it's a hot mess. But but honestly, like, the chameleon style, that's kind of my thing because a lot more of my stuff has been co-writes lately. So I find that I'm not doing as many self-writes anymore because I'm very intrigued with having other people's minds involved. And I think co-writes are a great thing. I think self-writes are important and I'll still do them here and there. But I honestly just, since I've been out here, I probably average on having like 3 writes a week, which is a lot for me because before I moved to Nashville, I was just doing self-writes when I felt like it, you know, and it was just a very creative process, if that makes sense. It was just all inspired to where I'm starting to learn how to quote unquote write on demand since they're so often now. So I've been going through this phase too where I've been having to try to find ways to remain really creative and keep the moment inspired and not feel like I'm just kind of zombieing out on my rights. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you feel like, you know, writing with these other people, does that kind of give you more when you go to your self-writes, kind of a different perspective on different lines maybe?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you really do. If you're paying attention and you're like listening and watching, you really do learn a lot from other people's rights. I've developed a lot since being out here and writing with other people, especially with the people who I've written with that, you know, have hits and have gotten cuts and are very, you know, successful doing writing full time. And, you know, I'm really, they say when you want to become something, mimic the people who are the best. So, you know, I really just pay attention to the people that I'm writing with because it's been a good handful. My circle is becoming a good handful of really established writers, and I feel like I've been learning from some really amazing people. So I like seeing how much I've developed, and it's cool because with iPhones and with the type of recording and technology we have today, you know, it's really easy to be able to go back and see where you came from and see what, you know, what your scratch notes have developed into and you know, see what your lyrics have developed into. And so it's really easy to go back and refer to that and just see the growth happen, you know?
And it's got to be cool to write with so many different people and just kind of get their feelings on different types of lyrics and different melodies and stuff like that. But music isn't the only thing that you do. And this was something that I was pretty excited to talk to you about. You use your platform for more than just music. Tell everybody kind of about the work that you do kind of helping out veterans.
Oh, I love that you're bringing this up. Yeah, I'm a big believer that my music is just a piece of the puzzle. That's kind of like the way I like to put it. Like, music is what fills my soul and it makes me feel complete. It makes me feel happy, but I also believe that there's a greater good behind it. And I want to be able to use that as I keep growing more and more and more in different ways. I use my platform for a couple different things, and one of them that you just mentioned was the vets. So when it comes to how I like to give back to the vets, it's a bunch of different ways, and it's just a lot about recognizing them. A lot of, especially when I was in Florida, I was really tied into the WVRF and the CVMA, and we'd get, you know, fundraising together. I try to do like free shows and I try to use any of my profits from releases where I give back to them. So for them, that's definitely a piece of the puzzle and one of the big organizations and foundations that I'm super passionate about. Anything that's veteran related. It's really important to me because I'm a huge believer that I wouldn't be able to, you know, chase this dream and have the freedom that I have to to go after what I love so much without them, So that's definitely one of them. And then also my platform is used a lot for self-love. I just try to sometimes post content and captions that are just really about loving yourself and, being who you are and being proud of that. And I also kind of tie that into my 501c, which is called the Strong Program. And that's my nonprofit organization where, I go into schools and I have a copyrighted program that it's kind of like a mix between a Tony Robbins convention and a live concert. And it's just this big performance yet motivational presentation where I reach children at a young age, teaching them how to be diligent and just really confident and strong in who they are physically, mentally, and spiritually. So there's a lot of different stuff that I use my platform for, just besides talking about my music.
See, well, and I think that's really important for people to understand, because there's a lot of people that, can be in your position and they use their platform for themselves. And you do a lot to make sure that it's not just about JessLee, that you're out there helping, veterans, you're out there helping kids, making sure that they're all right. I mean, you've got the whole Music and Muscles tagline, which I think is fantastic. But I do think it's important that people in your position go out and do that sort of thing, and you are doing that, which is really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a big deal to me because I'm a big believer that there's a difference between just feeling happy and then feeling fulfilled. And I think one of the biggest pieces to fulfillment is feeling like you're giving back in some sort of way. You can be extremely successful, but if you feel like it's a gluttonous or selfish thing, or you feel like you're not being able to do your part to help the growth and success of others, then there's just kind of this emptiness, there's this void, So I'm excited because growing as an artist is going to be the opportunity for me to give back and use my platform for even more. But those are really truthfully like the biggest things is, it's my music, which is for me, which is important. I think it's important to have selfish service. I think it's important for you to be living your life for you, but you also have to have that piece where you're giving back. So, the veterans and like Law of Attraction and self-love and the Strong Program are definitely where my heart lies when it comes to like serving others.
Well, and you've got one other brand, we'll call it, that you have, and it's called Boots and Hose, and I think that is a fantastic name. Where did you come up with that?
It actually it's so funny because when this gets brought up, so it's funny, like either people like know about the brand or they don't, and it's so random because some people like the brand, but they don't know that it's tied into me. So it's hilarious when I think when people bring this up and they find out, like when they finally get that it's like mine. But so it actually just officially got trademarked, which is really exciting. Nice. So, but yeah, so I'm excited. So, but when I created the name, it was legitimately like a night of wine and stepbrothers.
I feel like those are the best kind of nights.
Yeah. So, no joke. I was literally with my boyfriend and we were watching Step Brothers and we were both drinking red wine, and the Boots and Hose part came on, and Boats and Hose part came on, where they had that little rap music video thing. And I'm very creative when I'm tipsy, so I started saying it. I'm like, that'd be funny if there was a country version of it, Boots and Hose. And then he was getting it kind of, but then he really got it when I was like, I'm not talking about like females. I'm talking about a farmer's hoe and like a tool, a legitimate, HOE, not a HO. And it ended up just becoming this thing. And I was talking to some people kind of testing it out first before I was like, if I start this brand, like, would you rock it? It's for the farmers and for the country people out there, like, respecting rural culture. And it's just kind of a fun, catchy name and a little bit of a joke, but at the same time, like, not really,
Yeah.
So
it's fantastic.
It's so much of me, because that's kind of how I am. Like, I take things seriously only to an extent. Like, I also think life is totally just kind of a matrix. So I don't, there's only so, you can't take everything seriously, So I'm very playful in a lot of ways. So I was kind of like, well, if anybody wants to take this offensively, that's on them. Like, I know what it means. And most people just think it's like super, super funny, and they end up liking. We actually have new stuff that's going to be launching here within the next couple of months too, and the new designs are so great. So keep posted on that, because the new tees, they're just awesome. You're gonna love them.
I can't wait. And so, JessLee, before we let you go, we always end every podcast with our final four. It's 4 questions that may be the toughest questions that I've asked you the whole time. They're gonna make you think.
Oh, I'm down. I like a challenge.
Okay, so here we go. We'll start with the first one. What's your favorite
Cool.
place that you've ever played?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so I think there's a lot, actually. I've played a lot of great venues, and it's funny because, like, I don't want to just go by the amount of people. Like, the biggest venue I've ever played was for about, I think it was like 15,000 people, and I was headlining it, which felt so good, and it was awesome. But my favorite venue thus far, it was actually my hometown fair, and I think it was just because it was like the first time that I had played a show that big in my hometown, and I was actually opening for Low Cash, and it was just the first time I had done anything like that. And it was kind of like just that initial, like, I don't know, that just initial excitement and that first experience ever playing a stage so big. There's just something really special about that, because it was before The Voice and before any of that stuff had happened. And whenever I, like, think about, like, when some of my first successes were, that's where my mind goes back to. And I just go back to that feeling of just being so happy. It was the first time ever that, like, a venue had me in this beautiful, like, luxurious tour bus that was specifically just for me. And we had, like, my whole team on there, and I had my first time, like, having, like, a makeup artist. So it was just, like, an experience of a lot of firsts for me. And I just loved it. And I just always go back there, when I have hard times in this industry. It's just good to go back to a place where you're like, well, that was a great moment, and that was one of the first times. And since then, I've been able to do so much more. But, like, that was like one of my breakthrough moments.
That's a good one to pick. Okay, how about this? What's the best show that you've ever been to that you weren't a part of?
That I wasn't. Gosh, so many. I love concerts. This sounds so funny, but, like, I still love my first Backstreet Boys concert.
There you go.
Like, that was just one of the best moments ever that will never leave my mind, and I've been to a lot of great shows, but that was definitely, like, you can't top that,
No, that's a
I
good
also
pick.
I love Celine Dion too, though. So it's a tie, because I don't, if anybody knows me, like, if they're a fan of me, they know, like, that I'm obsessed with Celine Dion, and I saw her in Vegas, and it was unreal. So I would say between those two, they were probably my 2 favorite shows ever.
Okay, how about this one? If you could play at any venue in the world, where would it be?
Oh, Red Rocks, for sure. I will feel like I've made it in my life when I played Red Rocks.
There you go. Have you ever actually been to Red Rocks to see a show?
No, and I need to, and I know that it will probably beat the Backstreet Boys when I do.
That's what I've heard. And so I'm up here in Washington, and we've got the Gorge that's like 150 miles away. That, to me,
Right.
is one of the most beautiful venues in the entire world. And everybody I talk to, if they've been to both, you can bet that right down the middle, half of them will say the Gorge is better, and half of them will say Red Rocks is
Wow.
better. So I feel like I need to get down there.
Oh my God, you definitely do. I know I need to. I've been kind of waiting it out. I have this, like, thing that I'm like, I really want to go and see Mumford and Sons there. Like,
Okay.
I'm waiting for them specifically to come back there because I've just heard the most insane things about their show at Red Rocks, especially with like the type of music they play. Just the acoustics and stuff with them will probably be insane. I mean, I'm sure it's insane for anybody, but like I've seen some videos and stuff and I just had it in my head ever since then. I'm like, I'm going to see Mumford and Sons there. And then the next time I go back to Red Rocks, I'll be playing it. So
See, there you go. That's a solid plan. Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
Here, and this
Cool.
one seems to be the toughest. If you could,
Okay, let's do it.
If you could share the stage with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh, it'd be Celine Dion.
Oh, there you go. Easy enough. Look at
Like,
that.
Oh, easy peasy. I've had this conversation before. Oh man, I just want to sing one song with her once before she's like officially done singing. It's been a thing of mine since I was a little girl, and like there's a lot of people I want to share the stage with, but like I just need to sing one song with her one time. So
Man, that was quick too.
yeah, no, I know what I want. I'm a girl. I'm the girl that like when my boyfriend's like, hey, what should we eat tonight? I'll have an answer. So
There you go. There you go. Well,
it just
JessLee,
makes things easier when you know what you want.
for sure. For sure. Well, thank you so much for jumping on here. If people want to follow you on social media or check out your website, how can they do that?
Oh, you're the bomb. So my website, you can get to all my social media, but I'll go ahead and tell you both. But first, my website's JessLeeMusic.com. So JessLee and then music.com. You can get to all my social media through my site. But if you just want to go straight there, just do the little @ sign, and then it's JessLee Country. So JessLee and then country, like country music. But if you are on my website, I definitely suggest people to join the Jess Legion, which is my fan club. And there you'll get tons of fun offers whenever releases come out. We do lots of giveaways for my fans. I have a pretty tight sponsorship with Jabra, so we do special stuff with Jabra on there. So it's good enticing stuff to be on there because you can get discounts or free products sometimes, but also too, there's just fun newsletters and things that will come out, and the Jess Legion is usually the first to know, and like there's announcements and stuff. So if you get on my site, you can find all my social media on there, but definitely don't forget to join the Jess Legion because you can be in on all the fun stuff.
Yeah, join the Jess Legion. Go listen to Over Him. Go watch the video, and be sure to follow JessLee because I feel like there's big things in store for you.
Oh, I appreciate you. I had so much fun on this interview. Like I said, I knew it was going to be a good one.
You did. And everybody listen along at home, you found it, the Tea Party Podcast, where you find new friends and new music like JessLee. We'll see you in the next one.